everyone, it's Charlie Acorn, and you're listening to Cigar and Whiskey with Yannick.
Hey folks, it's Nick from Cigar and Whiskey and TDC Moncton. I've got with me a gentleman who can be defined as a great cornerstone of Canadian multiculturalism. He has a lot of mileage behind him, yet he's young in his years. And I want to show you his beautiful face.
Yeah, young. Maybe if I had been like Saul's beard, I would have been. But not in the last little while. No, I'm road weathered now.
You have the pleasure of doing the intro for Colin James tonight. Also, you're doing a private function over at Gallery 78.
That's right. Yeah. So I'm only here for the one night, but it's pretty action-packed, which is great because over the years, Brent and the whole Harvest family have always shown their love and support for what I do, and the corner of the blues scene that I sort of etch out as my own style, and they've always managed to find a home for it here, which I'm always grateful for. So tonight, to be able to open for Colin James is a dream come true, because Colin's always been a big influence for me, because he's always had that ability in his early days to have something bluesy played on commercial radio, which might not seem like a big deal, but to the blues scene today, it's one thing to get played on like specialty shows and satellite blues channels, but to get in mainstream radio these days is a challenge for anybody. But it was a little more forgiving back in the day when you could put Jeff Healy or Colin James and David Wilcox. You'd hear more and more of those artists come out with new releases, and it fit the musical landscape. So I've always had a lot of respect for Colin's talent that way and his sensibility. So to be a part of his show tonight, it's a feather in my cap.
Yeah, I can say that. Now, your name's Charlie Acorn, A''C''O''U''R''T.
That's correct, yeah.
Just an aside from asking questions to you as an artist, Acorn's originally from where?
From France. It was Agincourt.
Agincourt.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
The Battle of. So from the English perspective, it was known as the Battle of Agincourt, and it was a town in northern France where the French armies had put up a defense against the English army coming in, but were decimated by the British forces. And so those who fled the battle, many of them fled to England and anglicized the name. I'm not sure how they came to that result in terms of their thinking, in terms of abbreviating some of it. But yeah, as a matter of fact, this October marks the 600th anniversary of the Battle of Agincourt. The battle itself, the primary theater of the battle took place on October 25th, 1415.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, think you're going to France for a possible tour?
I was hoping that there might be some sort of reunion, but I didn't really see anything online, so...
Well, you never know.
Yeah.
Now, this is your actual name, it's not just a stage name, because usually there's a possible stage name.
Yeah, that's true. But I do get that question a lot because of the uniqueness of my surname. Over the years, lots of people have thought that it was a stage name.
Yeah, but I like your surname.
I like it too.
In French, I could easily say "à tout court."
And what would that mean?
That would mean just a simple A.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Your year of birth?
78.
70?
Yeah. So
you're younger than I am. I feel old now.
See, even with the beard, it doesn't make a difference.
Now, for your bio, I was hard pressed trying to find any of the details because it was last minute setup.
Sure, for the interview.
I'm sorry about that, but if you want to tell us a little bit more about how you started, when you started, and why.
Well, started sort of in my preteens, 10, 11, 12. I started taking different instrument lessons. I took piano lessons for 2 years, but it didn't really work. I tried as best as I could, but my music teacher one day actually said I should try a different instrument.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so, which is great because I wasn't really gelling with it anyway, right?
Okay.
And my mom's side of the family is Cape Breton, so there was that aspect in me that I thought maybe I should, learn fiddle and learn traditional Celtic, Scottish music, but that also didn't really appeal to me. And my dad plays guitar. He has a couple 12 strings at home, and he had the guitar sitting in the corner of the room, and one day I thought, well, I'll give it a shot and see. I didn't know any chords, but I always like to say that it was a joyful noise, what I was hearing out of the guitar, and it cemented my path in terms of what instrument I would kind of invest my time learning. And then one thing led to another, and I would go through Dad's record collection, and one of the things that always kept coming up in his collection was blues, and there was a lot of East Coast blues as well. There was Dutch Mason and Frank McKay and the Lincolns, Matt Minglewood, Teresa Malafall. There was such an array of blues, but there was also lots of American blues, a lot of British blues, and so I really got a taste for that style, and then that sort of sparked me on a path of checking out more rhythm and blues and soul and Motown, and listening to artists like Otis Redding and Sam Cooke, Sam and Dave, a lot of these artists who would use a lot of falsetto in their voice, which was, for me, to hear a male singer use falsetto in some of these soul tunes and really emote, had a huge impact on those formative years for me in the path that I would go as a singer and as a guitar player. And then I find people like Eric Clapton and B.B. King and Buddy Guy and Stevie Ray. It's that era of musicianship for blues is, I think, is in the process of going down as a golden era in blues music, whether it was electric or acoustic. And so I feel very lucky to have sort of grown up in the time that I did listening to that style of music, because it really laid the basis for where I would go with my own career.
Sweet. Lynn Horn, your agent, or
publicist.
Publicist, thank you very much. Lynn Horn, thank you very much, by the way, for this.
We love you, Lynn.
She mentioned that your last album, which is entitled
Triumph and Disaster.
Yeah.
The new one is called Come On Over.
That's it.
Okay, yeah.
That one's nominated for something very recently.
Yeah, just like a couple of days ago, it just picked up a nomination for a Blues Recording of the Year for Music Nova Scotia Awards, which would be very, very akin to Music New Brunswick or Music PEI or Music Newfoundland, and it's sort of the those provincial events feed into the regional ECMAs, but the new album, Come On Over, we had a sort of a multi-phase release, and so a digital version of the record came out last fall, where it only had 6 songs.
Okay.
And then in the spring we released the full 10-track album.
So basically an EP before the LP.
Exactly, yeah. And it picked up the ECMA award for Blues Recording of the Year, and so it's really helped sort of launch the album in a very concentrated way.
And the ECMA is 2015. 15,
yeah,
so this year.
When they were in St. John's.
Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, it's no problem. But don't let it happen again.
No. Folks, I didn't mention this. Brent is from St. John, New Brunswick. A native, born there also, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah. and still staying there. The guy is all over the place when it comes to being able to do his own. Wait, you and Brent are from St. John, New Brunswick?
No. I'm from Truro.
Truro, Nova Scotia.
Yeah. But that's something I get a lot too in interviews. A lot of people think that I'm from New Brunswick. I have family in Moncton, but a common misconception is that I was born in New Brunswick. I was actually born in Truro.
Oh, okay. And you've been living pretty much all these years in Truro?
Exactly, yeah.
By the way, folks, this is just on the side, but not Brent, but Charlie, unfortunately, I apologize for the fact that the Dutch Mason Blues Festival didn't happen this year in Truro.
Yeah, that was a bit of a bummer. We were all sort of we had pinned a lot of hopes on being able to enjoy the festival this year and getting a chance to perform, because it brings in a lot of maritime acts.
Also international.
And international, but I think the key to any great festival is to invest in their local catalog of musicianship, because a common misconception is that if you're local, whatever local means, is that you must not be good enough to be on an international stage, and that's a philosophy that I vehemently disagree with, because every festival is local on some perspective. I'm sure there's musicians in around the Fredericton area that go, how come I can't get into the festival? Just as well as someone in Kelowna at their festival, they'd go, well, or Salmon Arm Roots and Blues, how come I can't get into that festival? I think when festivals see the caliber of musicianship in their backyard in the same regard as they see musicianship from across the border, because it's across the border doesn't mean that it's better. It just means it's further away, and people here don't always get a chance to see it. That's all it means.
Yep.
So I applaud festivals, especially on the East Coast, to take the initiative to hire local performers, and because we've, on a world stage, our caliber of musicianship really plays second fiddle to nobody.
Apart from the ECMA and the current nomination for the Nova Scotian Music Award, any other awards that you'd like to mention?
I've had a few over the years. I've had a few Maple Blues nominations. I haven't picked up any awards there before, but I always have a great time when I go, because it's, the blues community across Canada is a very close-knit community. Even though we may not necessarily see each other a lot over the year, we always cross paths with each other at some point, and Maple Blues has always been a great way to sort of, because it's in January, it always kicks off the year, and you kind of get a chance to recap with a lot of folks, which is great. And I'm very excited by the new record, because it really represents a different sound for me, a focus on guitar that I haven't had on the last couple of records, and I think the sound of this new album is a lot more focused. So I'm really excited to actually submit it for Junos this year and see if it picks up any. I'd love to snag a 2016 Juno nomination. That would be amazing.
I think you will, because you've been recognized nationally as a musician, and you've pretty much traveled across the country as well. It's not just simply.
Oh yeah, no, I've definitely been across Canada many times, and I've been fortunate enough to do traveling outside of Canada. Like this fall, I spend 6 weeks in Australia. Right after Thanksgiving, I fly down, and this year Canned Heat is at Harvest.
Yes.
And I'm actually opening a support tour for them across Australia as part of their anniversary tour. So I'm hoping to get a chance to maybe cross paths with anyone from Canned Heat while we're here for Harvest before I join them in Australia for their tour. I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
You probably will. You've got the personality to actually reach out and grab someone.
Oh, I will. Yeah, I would definitely do that.
Now, in regards to the current setup of your band members, you're singing and playing guitar.
Singing and guitar and a little interpretive dance. One of those things is not true.
Okay, and then who else is with you on board for this night's event?
So for the show tonight, I have Keith Mullins on the drums, Kev Corbett on bass, and from St. John's, Newfoundland, Mr. Chris Kirby on keyboards tonight. Yeah. And that was a special request from Brent, I've got to say, which I'm so glad that he had the forethought for that, because Chris has been at the festival many times himself, and we've done a few things here together before.
Yeah.
And so to be able to have a show here together to open for Colin James, I think we're both a little on the giddy side.
Look at him, folks. He's as giddy as a schoolboy.
Can't wait.
Now, apart from that, any interesting facts? Because I, unfortunately, usually Google for this, but I didn't get a chance. So, is there anything that you'd like us to know, that, such as, did you do environmental studies? Do you hold a PhD in anthropology? Have you negotiated contracts for any particular societies?
Well, after I did all of that, I took a little time for myself, and I love to cook. So, I've often thought if I ever got to a spot where I could, open up my own place, it would be amazing. I love sushi, and I love to cook all sorts of meals and try different things. And so when I hit it like a brick wall with the music, and I'm not feeling very creative, I always turn to the kitchen, and it's a wonderful outlet. I think a lot of people today, when they think that they have to cook for their family, they see it as a chore, and they don't have a lot of fun with it. But I was really fortunate. My grandmother taught me a lot of the principles of cooking when I was a teenager, and I carried that through into my adulthood. So I've always found it really fun and a bit of a release to actually step into a kitchen and get a chance to cook.
It is, actually. Yeah. What about baking? I suck at baking. Anything I bake, I destroy.
Well, that's what they say. I mean, it's often said that cooking is an art, but baking is a science, and I would agree with that. I think to be a great baker, there's very little wiggle room. You really need to know your stuff. You really need to know how ingredients work together to get the varying effects that you want. So I like to bake. One of the things that got me started was helping my grandmother bake 6 loaves of bread every morning, or not every morning, every Sunday.
Okay.
And but I would, as she got older and it was harder for her to knead the dough with her hands, I would come down and I would do all the kneading. So over time, I got to know how to bake bread from scratch, and it doesn't seem like a big thing, but
no, it's a big thing.
Just to have something like that, it's a sense of independence, which I think a lot of people lack today, in terms of knowing that they could really, instead of just going to the corner store and buying everything, or going out to restaurants on a regular basis, just knowing that you can grow stuff at home under your own power and be able to use those ingredients to make your own food, I think can be a very empowering skill to have.
So that means, if I'm correct in between the lines, you have your own garden.
Oh God, no! I wish. I don't have a big space at home.
Okay.
So it's any time I can get anything fresh, it's if I can ransack my friends' garden when they're not looking. But no, I try to cook as fresh as I can. But it's tricky when you're on the road. Obviously. True. So you really need to enjoy that process of cooking fresh when you're at home.
Do you actually, when you're touring, do you break out all of a sudden into a creative fit of wanting to actually cook wherever you're at? Has it happened?
It has sometimes. Usually it's when, like if I do a house concert and I stay at someone's house, maybe the next morning I'll get up and cook a really nice breakfast, which is always a lot of fun. I mean, I think, breakfast is always that meal of the day that you use to sort of launch a day with, and so you can get really creative, and that actually has an impact on the psyche for how creative or productive you might be in the rest of that day. So I think sometimes when I'm on tour and I'm on the road, when I know that I'm staying somewhere that's got a little kitchenette or has a stove of some sort, then yeah, I'll go to a grocery store and I'll buy some stuff and I'll make something nice at the hotel or wherever I'm staying.
Yeah.
And it's a nice switch, I mean, eating out is great, but it's expensive when you're on the road, and it's a lot of the same deep fried food options, and it's never good. It's never good on the body.
Charlie, thank you very much for taking the time to come here and do this.
Oh, this is great. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you very much, and I wish you the best for your TD Bank
little reception here tonight.
Exactly,
yeah.
and Colin James.